Welcome to this week's Leap Weekly webinar. Today we're going to be talking about care, candor, and courage. 3 keys to delivering powerful feedback. Now, I want to start off real quick and thank everyone for being here live. I want you to know that you're going to remain on mute with your videos off. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box. I'll look to answer them at the end of the session here today. And I very much appreciate you being here, looking to develop, to grow your ability to really deliver great feedback. So let's get started here. First of all, I want to introduce myself. My name is Ryan Boda. I'm one of the lead coaches at Leap Training and Coaching. And I'm actually certified in conversational intelligence. And I'm currently finishing my master's degree in leadership and talent development. And so what I really want to share is that my whole passion, my whole drive, and why we do what we do is to better the lives, to elevate the performance, and to really shape cultures in a way that creates environments that people love to come to work. You know, I started off as a construction manager, and I spent a lot of time working on building buildings. But very quickly, I realized that I didn't really enjoy the process of building buildings. I really enjoyed the teamwork and the process of building the people inside the buildings. And that's what led me to really follow my passion to coaching. And so with my capstone, one really important part that I love that ties into feedback is that I'm in my capstone really working on psychological safety, which is creating an environment where people do not have a fear of speaking up. And one of the key things is they don't have a fear of feedback. Right? They're able to say, hey, I can share with you, we're not doing well at this. I need some support. Hey, this didn't go well. What do we need to do differently? They're able to give and receive support and feedback. And so that's why it leads me into this, and I'm so passionate about this conversation. Now, very quickly, Leap Training and Coaching is a larger professional development organization that is really situated to work with people on consulting, coaching, and training professional development. And our mission is very simple: to develop a company's greatest asset, their people. And we truly believe that. We believe that no matter what your assets are, your biggest and greatest asset is your people, their relationship with each other, their relationship with clients, customers, whoever it is for you, and their ability to innovate and move into the future. And that's what we do here at Leap Training and Coaching. And that's why today's Leap Weekly webinar is going to be all about care, candor, and courage. 3 simple keys to really delivering powerful feedback in the workplace. So I want to get started here. You know, in the introduction of this, it talks about that feedback when delivering it isn't really about being blunt. We hear things like, okay, well, you need to sandwich a negative in between 2 positives, right? We hear things like that, or that's something we do in school with children. We might dance around situations and things like that. But to really deliver powerful feedback, we can't be worried about those things. Instead, we really do have to come with that care, candor, and courage. And that's what we're going to teach you here today. Now, I always like to start off, as usual, providing a little bit of the statistical background that says, why do we even worry about this? You know, I'm a leader of an organization. Why do I worry about, do I deliver feedback? People listen to me and we get the job done. Well, what they can show is that 4 out of 10 employees are actively disengaged when they get little to no feedback. So when we're not really giving the feedback that people are desiring to understand, where am I right now? How's my performance? How am I doing with respect to your perception, right? When we're not giving that, 4 out of 10, 40% are actively disengaged. And so one really important part of that is, how many of us have annual performance reviews? Most of us, right? Well, what they have shown is research shows that an annual performance review is not feedback. It's not enough for feedback. It's one systematic way that companies track that they're giving somebody the feedback, but it isn't that consistent feedback, and it's actually leading to that disengagement. So you have to go, how am I actively giving and receiving feedback during the week, during the month, during a project, things like that. The next one says that 82% of employees are appreciative of positive and negative feedback. And so that's really important to think about, because if you've watched other pieces of this series on feedback, last couple of videos, there has been some things that I've talked about the science of feedback and the fact that we cause fear and defensiveness. And so to know that employees are actually appreciative because they're receiving both positive and negative feedback in the process lets you know that, hey, feedback isn't only about those negative things, it's also about the positive. And when we create a system, a culture of feedback, where we're giving regular feedback weekly, all the time, talking with people, and we're being able to do it both positive and negative, people are appreciative of feedback because it isn't that thing that, okay, we're having that negative feedback today, right? We're actually having the positive and negative intertwine in the process of the overall piece of feedback. Now, the last one here says that 43% of very highly engaged employees receive feedback at least once a week, but as opposed to 18% of low engagement employees. So when we have high engagement, they're the ones receiving feedback, and it says at least once a week. Well, what does that really look like? And so you can see things like, oh, have feedback Fridays, have things like that. And that's wonderful. Those are systematic ways to put in feedback. But the real thing is to put it at the forefront and to make a motivation, a commitment to saying, how, when, and where am I going to be giving feedback to my people? And how do I acknowledge that it's feedback? How do I acknowledge for them that it's feedback and give them the back and forth to both give the feedback back to me and receive the feedback from me? So it's very systematic. It's a thing to think about. How do we create those loops and feedback systems that allow us to communicate effectively in that manner? Now, I really want to look at our three main points for today. The concept of today's webinar was care, candor, and courage. And we love these three C's because they really speak to what we need when we're delivering feedback. And so often we're given, techniques, tips, ideas for feedback, but they're systems, and they're not how do we care about the individual? How do we shape the conversation? And that's what we do as coaches, is we talk about conversational dynamics. So the systems are really good. So keep the systems. Also add in, how does conversational dynamics come in? And go view the other videos because those will help you with some of the other pieces. But this is really about how do conversational dynamics come into play. And the first one is about care. And I first and foremost want to explore the definition of care, because I think it really points to why do we use these words. So there's two definitions for care we're going to care about today. Care as a noun is serious attention or consideration applied to doing something correctly. So it's serious attention or consideration to doing something correctly. And I really like this because when you think about this, I want you to refer back to our last video on this one. So if you haven't seen it, when I'm done with this point, go view that video, because serious attention is all that last video. It's about how do we set up effective feedback, right? Show that I'm putting attention, consideration, effort into the fact that I'm delivering really difficult feedback today. And so, from the last video, we talked about priming. How do I want them to feel? What kind of mindset do I need to allow them to hear this with an open mind? How am I going to invite them to the conversation? Going about that, really thinking about it. And even we talked about the physical space. How am I setting that up effectively? Think about that. Care as a noun is that serious attention and consideration to doing something correctly. And that's what setting up effective feedback was all about. Putting the time, consideration, and attention into, I want to be intentional about this conversation. I want them to be able to receive this with the most open heart and mind. How can I do that? That's the type of care we put into these conversations. Now, the other side is that care as a verb is to look after and provide for the needs of another. To look after and provide for the needs of another. Now, this is really important because think about that. It's about what's in the best interest of the person. How do I actually provide for their needs? And so there's two really big things to think about. And it's, number one, how do I need to deliver this information so that it does best fit the need of that individual? And so that's where we actually take the time to think about when I'm delivering it, right? And even if I'm delivering the same piece of information 3 times to 3 different employees, each one should be different because each employee is unique. They have their way of wanting to listen, to hear things. You have people who are more direct, people who are more, they want the whole story. Some people and you have those different aspects, you have the different ways of delivering it. And so really think about how do I need to deliver this to be the most effective? Do I need to come at it from a growth standpoint? Do I need to come at it from a customer standpoint, from a in their own shoes standpoint? Where do I need to come from this? And so care in that sense is, how do I need to deliver something for it to be the best for that individual? The second one is thinking about, what's in the best interest of the employee. And so there are times where we, as people who are providing feedback, are timid to provide certain feedback because it's uncomfortable, it's difficult to share. And so one thing to consider is what is in the best interest. And so we had an example of this a while ago. One of our directors was having to give some pretty difficult feedback about behavior and what was appropriate in front of customers, as well as with their coworkers and things. And we went through this whole process of setting it up. And lastly, we said, is there anything else you'd like to share with that individual? And what they said to us was, well, there is one other thing, but I'm uncomfortable talking about it. And so we explored it, and it was that the individual had bad body odor. And that was their most fearful thing, because it feels like it's an attack on a person and themselves. And so what we talked about with them was, okay, what's in the best interest of this individual? For their long-term professional success, what is in the best interest? And she said, well, if I had this issue, I would want someone to bring it up to me and to say something, because otherwise I may not know or notice or even recognize that it's an issue, and that it would be better for me in the future had somebody said something. And we said, okay, now that's care. That is, I am so uncomfortable, but the thing is, I care so much about you, I'm willing to talk about it. That's the type of care we're going to put in. Now, the second one to really discuss is this concept of candor. And so what I want to share with you is that the definition of candor is a noun, and it's the quality of being open and honest in expression. And if you've ever coached with us or would like to learn about that coaching process, please reach out, because one of the things we do is we teach the qualities of being. And it's how we set up every single coaching session. And therefore, our clients start to set up every meeting, every conversation they have with these qualities of being. It's all about this candor. It's, how am I showing up? What am I here to be? And this is the quality of being. I'm here to be open and honest when expressing what they need to hear. And so what we always say is, like I said earlier, it's not about that sandwiching between, a negative between positive, about being blunt, anything about that. It's about actually opening the space and then practicing, what do I need to deliver? So in context, it is that we've sat down before the conversation and actually written out on a notepad, bullet pointed, here are the things we need to make sure we say. And the reason is because without that clear cut, here is what they need to hear, oftentimes we do dance around the situation, maybe avoid that topic, and don't really get clear. This is what you need to hear. This is appropriate behavior. And this is not appropriate behavior, right? Very clear. This is what's expected, right? Or this is proper protocol with a customer when this happens, and this is what we cannot be doing, right? Being very clear about them. And so what you really need to do in candor is about being your most open and honest self, and really getting clear for yourself. What are the things I need to deliver to make sure that this conversation is effective and that individual walks away with the items that we really want to make sure that they do walk away with. And lastly, care, candor, and as always, courage. Courage is such a huge thing when it comes to feedback, because if you go back to 2 videos ago, the video on feedback there is that it's completely normal. Feedback causes fear and defensiveness. We talked about the wiring of our brain, the fact that we're wired for the fact that we should be fearful. Okay? That's how our brain is wired. We want to protect ourselves. We don't want to hurt relationships. We don't want to hurt ourselves, our ego, anything like that. And so go back to that video and rewatch it and think about, why do I need courage? And it's right here. Courage is a noun, and its definition is the ability to do something that frightens one. The ability to do something that frightens one. And that's to acknowledge that feedback frightens us. And that's okay. We just talked about, right? Go watch that video. It's normal. It's normal to have a fear of feedback. It's completely normal. So acknowledge that it's normal and then have the courage, the ability to do something even though it's normal and it frightens you. And that's where we go about and we say, okay, we have these little Hello Courage badge. You stick it on your shirt. We actually do have a little Hello Courage. And the thing is, you put that on and you remind yourself that, you know what, I'm acknowledging that I'm frightful, that I'm uncomfortable, that my stomach's turning a little bit. But I'm acknowledging that I've watched these videos from us here at Leap, and I'm starting to recognize, hey, you know, this is happening. But I'm acknowledging it and I'm ready to do something, even though it frightens me, even though I'm scared that I'm fearful. I'm going to do it. So you acknowledge that happens in you, and you say, I appreciate you sharing with me that I'm frightened, that I'm worried. I appreciate you, stomach, letting me know that I'm a little uncomfortable to deliver this. You know, you just acknowledge it. Say, hey, I appreciate it. Calm down. We're ready to do this. We've planned. We've set up from the last video. We've acknowledged that, okay, we need to care. What do we need to do to set them up to be successful? How do we need to deliver this in a way that, you know, is in their best interest, right? Oh, candor. Hey, I'm here to be open and honest. Number one, I'm open and honest with myself. I'm saying, hey, I'm fearful, scared. I'm nervous about this. So number one, I've been open already. Number two, hey, I'm gonna be open with that person. Here's what appropriate, here's what not appropriate looks like in the workplace. Here's what we need to do differently next time. Really be clear about it and know that it's about being open and honest with somebody so that they can truly hear what we're saying, getting clear about it. And then remember, grab your Hello Courage badge, stick it on, and really make sure you go out there and do what even frightens you tomorrow. If you have a conversation that you need to have, go have that conversation. Put on the badge. Say, yes, I am courageous, and I am ready to go out to conquer feedback, to be able to deliver it in a way that I show my care, I show my candor, and I demonstrate my courage with my people, and create systematic ways of continually going back to feedback. Provide that weekly feedback that they need. Create those highly engaged employees through really effective, powerful feedback. Go read those books, read those things that provide you some of the guidelines and things, but always remember there are conversational dynamics that happen inside feedback. And that's where care, candor, and courage come to the forefront and allow you to open space to deliver powerful results and to really make sure that you're able to demonstrate your care, candor, and courage when delivering feedback. Thank you very much. Again, I am Ryan Boda. I'm with Leap Training and Coaching. We are very excited to continue to offer these webinars. They're both live and then recorded, and we want to make sure that we're providing the most value to all of you, and we really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you here again next Tuesday, 10 o'clock Central Time. Thank you so much.